With family funeral homes in Remus, Lakeview, and Edmore, and Paris Auto Sales.
Oh, and we'll be hearing from, we'll be hearing from Billy Joel later. Let's stop Billy Joel right now. Stop, Billy. Bye, Billy. It's time for Curries Corner. And in this morning, guest hosting for Pat Curry, it's Big Rapids Township Supervisor Bruce Borkavich. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, but this really is Pat Curry this morning. I am Pat Curry.
You're being the Pat.
I am really him. I'm very sensitive. I'm very romantic. I don't like to talk, Bob. So this is difficult for me. But I don't like to talk. I've lived in Big Rapids since 1797. And but I'm just an all-around great husband. I do a lot of housework. I cook dinners for my wonderful wife, what's her name? Mrs. Curry.
Yeah.
I make her dinners. I like, doing a lot of stuff around the house so she can go out with her friends. And I surprise her with flowers and candy. And that's just who I am.
Yep.
So
there you go.
So
well,
now,
we're glad to hear that little bio there. Yeah.
But if I've confused you, this is Bruce Borkavich. I'm filling in for Pat. He's vacationing as we speak.
Again. Nice life.
He lives the life, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well, he worked. He'll tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you he worked hard for that life.
He did.
Yeah,
he certainly did.
Yep.
And in case some of you are like dear friends of Pat, I was just teasing him. He's my dear friend also. So, but we're pretty happy because for the second week in a row, we've got Bryan Marek here. I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about his history, but I know Bryan. I've worked with his wife, but I also know of Bryan here and his history in the community. His family's been here forever, but he's got a very notable hockey history. And Bryan, rather than me butcher some facts as I, can be known to do, good morning.
Well, good morning.
It's good to have you here. And briefly, Bryan, tell us about your hockey history. We could go into a lot of other things. You're actually our ground supervisor at the township, doing an amazing job. You spin my head sometimes on all the stuff you're getting done. But let's not talk about that. This is a hockey town. It really is. We have, Fair State with a Division I hockey program. And tell me a little bit about your hockey career.
Well, first off, thanks for having me again. It's an honor and a privilege. So I was born a long time ago, almost when Ferris began their hockey program, so 75-ish, right in there. So I began hockey at about the age of 4.
Wow.
And I'm 50 now, so I've been playing or studying or coaching that for, 45 years or so.
Wow.
Just fell in love with it. I don't know how my family got into hockey. We were a rodeo family with horses and all that stuff. So just some country people. And but then we began to house some of the hockey players, kind of billet them. So I got to have the experience and luxury to be around hockey almost 24/7 and pick their brains a bit and kind of watch and idolize those guys as I was a little kid, and that starts the dream. And from there, I got through I went through the Big Rapids Ice Dog program, and back then it wasn't called the Ice Dogs. I'm not exactly sure if we even had an organization name other than Braja, which is Big Rapids Area Junior Hockey Association.
So for the non-hockey folks out there, what is Ice Dogs? Those little kids?
Well, that's the name of the hockey organization. So the area hockey organization just gave ourselves a name.
That's not a particular level. That's just the local kids hockey program.
Yeah, so all levels now have that name, the jersey logo, and so on, so forth. So back then we had a whole bunch of different sponsors that would. That's what each team name would be. So, for instance, Casey McNabb's, which I was a team of, or Big Boy, or McDonald's was one a long time ago. Or if you want to go further back than that, maybe 40 years ago, was the Golden Nuggets, you know. So, and then, you know, Ferris is a big part of it too. They always had hockey schools in the summers, you know, and they had a week for each age group roughly. So they had 4 weeks designated for each age group. So I participated in that growing up, and then into high school and you know, played 4 years there and had some success and ran into a really, really good coach by the name of Jim Baker, who also played for Ferris.
Oh.
He set a number of records as well there. He's in the Hall of Fame there.
Wow.
He would have had a lengthy career out or after post college, but suffered an injury that was a setback to his playing career. So we were, you know, unfortunate for him, but very fortunate for us in the community and in the Big Rapids High School program. You know, he kind of got that off and running, and he just had tremendous success with that. And his hockey knowledge that we had gotten and the way that we see the game or learn the game was detrimental to not only us as high school players, individuals, and so on, but the whole organization. So
instrumental.
Absolutely.
I bet. Not detrimental.
I'm sorry, could you put your mic closer to you?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Appreciate
Is that better?
You can, no, just drag it closer to
just
the
drag
whole
it.
unit.
All right.
There you go.
Better?
That's perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
So he had he had a lot of influence and a big impact on learning hockey here and bringing the program to Notre Dame.
Yeah, and even more so, you know, I remember going in as this little kid, you know, I was 135 pounds, you know, just a young kid, and looking up to the senior class, they were essentially, you know, young men at that point. So I mean, there's a transition there that goes from one to the next, and you've become part of that family. And he has been a huge part of teaching responsibility, accountability, and all that sort of stuff within a team structure, you know, and that transfers over into the working class, or whether you're still an athlete playing, you know, or moving into college. And so that taught us a lot as well. So outside of hockey, you know, it also taught us how to grow up a little bit and be responsible and accountable. He was very good at keeping us accountable.
Yeah. And I know now you're not going to be comfortable with this, and that's okay, because I think you're a humble guy, but I have been told by people who really know hockey in this area, they consider you the best player ever to come out of Big Rapids, the Big Rapids program. So let me throw that on you. How are you going to respond to that, Mr. Marek?
I appreciate that. However, there's been a number of really, really, really good hockey players that I would, you know, that I would put above me for sure. One is Cody Chupp. I don't know if you remember the Chupp family, but you know, even his brother was exceptional. But Cody went on to play in the what's called the American Hockey League, which is the AHL. That's a step below the NHL. And you know, he too had a couple injuries that cut his playing career short, but he now is a very accomplished NCAA coach. Matter of fact, his team right now is in the Frozen Four.
Wasn't he being considered for the Ferris job?
He was.
That's
he was
what
a heavy favorite.
He was
for that,
right
but
up there.
Yeah, he was right up there. So I mean, that just shows you kind of what caliber of.
So where is he coaching now? That they're in the Final Four. What?
Minnesota Duluth.
Oh, he's at Minnesota Duluth. Yeah. Wow.
Doing a fantastic, and what an outstanding player.
Yeah.
You know, he was phenomenal, and he came through the high school program. You know, which is a lot. So to say that one player is over the other, which I can easily say that he was over me for sure.
We appreciate your humility. Others might say differently.
Yeah, I mean, players back in the past, you know, I remember as I was a little kid, I might have been doing like water boy for the for the team. You know, we like to do that. You know, like I know, like Paul DeVries, Rick DeVries, we're going way back, right? So that's you know Paulette's family.
Yes.
Paulette is the one that got all this going. And I tell you what, we are very fortunate for Paulette. And it's she's still
an angel. Their daycare there.
She's amazing, right?
Known.
None of this is possible without her. So I mean, a huge thank you to Paulette and her continued support.
Yeah.
Without her,
I need to interject for 1 second to say, Paulette, if you're listening right now, we still have a Curry's $25 gift card for you from New Year's Eve.
Oh my goodness!
That's
come on,
sitting
Paulette.
that's sitting on the desk here. So just make arrangements to come on down and pick it up.
You have earned that, Paulette.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
That's
thinking about that.
That's good stuff. So Bryan, I do know. Then you've taken your experience at a young age, high level at the high school age, and you have transitioned into a coaching career here. Tell us about what you do, who you coach, the level, what that means to the area.
Well, I've coached a number of different levels, from the lowest level of house hockey or the youngest level. I shouldn't say lowest level, but the youngest level.
Which would be what? How old?
Those are mites. So those kids are 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
Right in that range.
Wow.
Or at least it was back then. And then it moves into like the squirts and the peewees and the vams and so on and so forth. And then, even some AA hockey out of Grand Rapids when my son was younger.
Yeah.
So some of that experience to it. And also along the, you're there along the ride when they're in this older level of travel hockey. So they see other coaches,
for sure. Let me pause you.
Sure.
Pick right up. Bob, I think we have a phone call.
Yeah, we have a phone call. So B1039, you are on the air. Who's this?
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener, and I just wanted to tell you I've really enjoyed the morning show. At 7:30 this morning, I woke up and listened to a lot of your recordings.
Okay.
And I just skipped through them, and I just thought I wanted to call you and thank you for everything you've done for Big Rapids. The radio station, the music's great.
Oh, we appreciate that. But right now we have the Curries Corner on, so why don't you tune in for that?
Oh, I am. Bob, this is Pat.
Yeah, okay,
You had a big smile on your face. You thought, wow, somebody really likes us?
Yeah. Okay.
No, I was just imagining this is what Pat Curry will sound like in 10 years.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, really.
Pat, I had to treat you as just a regular listener,
and Bryan for doing it. But I just wanted to put a plug in for Michael Oil this morning. I'll tell you, Gail there runs it for her, takes after, I think it's their third generation Michael Oil. Just great people. They're north of town. Anyway, the reason I'm giving them a plug this morning is because last week my son Adam and Matt both went to Florida. That left the old man there to live it up at the gas station, and I did that. Well, anyway, Ben Ross from Sam's Disposal, his young driver put one of his trucks up against a tree there on the ditch on Wilson Avenue. It really wasn't his fault. The road's terrible. Anyway, he called us. And I was going to have to do it myself at 72. I really don't care to drive that big truck anymore. So I text Jason Rakoff. He works for us weekends and nights, and he works days for Michael Oil. Anyway, he had to go to work that morning, and I texted him to see if he would do it for me. He texted Gail, and he told her the scenario, and she said, you know what, if Pat needs you, yes, we're not that busy right now. You go ahead and help him out. I just want to say thank you, Gail, at Michael Oil Company, because, I mean, how many businesses do that? That's the kind of small town I like. You know each other real well, and you're there to help each other. So let us remember that in our daily chores.
That's a great
help
point.
one another out, and that's what it's all about in life. Live it to the best you can do, but help others. Gail at Michael Oil helps a lot of people. I know they're 24 hours a day for LP and 24 hours a day for off-road diesel, fuel oil, kerosene. They got it all, and they're just wonderful, wonderful people. And I just wanted to call in and let people know if you need something, they're north of town. They're a great place to buy your propane. I always tell people when they want off-road, we have it at the gas station if it's convenient for you. But if you need a lot for the farm or whatever, Mike Oil has it, and they hire all these good local people. So thanks a lot again, Gail, and there's your plug.
It sounds like love thy neighbor.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, you guys carry on. God bless you. The sun's shining in Beckley, West Virginia. We're heading out.
Before you go, how was my impression of you? Was it good?
Well, I can't hear you down here. I have to listen to it.
Oh, okay. I did.
You have to put it on the YouTube.
Yeah, you'll be able to
I'll
see
do
it.
that.
I did my best impression of you, so I hope I did you honor.
But I tell you, I met some people from Colorado this morning, New York this morning, and Virginia. One thing they all had in common, they have a big smile on their face. They're all content with life.
Nice.
Enjoy your life.
Yep.
All right,
yep.
guys. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Pat.
later.
God bless.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, talk to you later, Pat.
God
Thanks.
bless.
Bye.
So Brian, you were talking about.
Yeah, get back to hockey here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about. By the way, Bob.
Yeah.
Let's remind everyone.
Yes, please.
You're listening to B1039.
Right.
But Brian, you were talking about your coaching career and involvement here in Big Rapids. So carry on if you can remember where you ended.
Well, it's just been a long one. It's been a long road. I love doing it. Seeing the light bulb come on for some kids and getting them to understand and see other games inside the game. I guess that's where eventually a coach gets to, maybe, and maybe that's the start. I don't know, but that to me is, seeing that progression within me to be able to see that and enjoy that, because it doesn't start off that way.
Right.
You're just kind of out there.
Yes.
You're trying to figure out, the combination to each player and the lock box that it is, in that brain of theirs, and everybody's different.
Yes.
So figuring out that stuff, so you're getting the information through, and still supporting them as much as you can everywhere else. I mean, that's the beauty of coaching and seeing what you can get out of these guys, teaching the game.
It's very rewarding. And I also understand that you teach these kids more than hockey. I think you also help. You teach them how to be young men and men. And that's every bit as important, or maybe far more important, than those individual hockey skills. And that is going to, now Jen and Dom have given me a little bit of training. That is a transition, isn't it, Bob? Because guess what we're transitioning into? We're transitioning into what it is to be, what is masculinity in 2026? That's our next topic. Now, what you have this morning, folks, is you have two alpha males sitting here. Brian and I are very, very similar. We're both alpha males. If that offends you, okay, that's all right. Go to counseling, take a pill. But we are going to talk really about the attack on masculinity and how masculinity has been, there's so many that want to redefine what it is. And so I'm going to really put you on the spot on, it's 2026. What do you think it means to be a man now? Not necessarily, I think I know what it means to be a man to you, but if you take that snapshot in society of how you think masculinity has changed.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
That is putting me on the spot a little bit.
That's okay.
We've seen, I feel that we've seen a lot of changes throughout from when I was younger in the way that I was brought up versus, maybe some of the expectations of today. So I know that, if I did something wrong, I got punished for it. I know that I didn't want to let my parents down. So I had to keep my word as a person, so I didn't let my name down, my family down, because I carry that name as well, and that reputation. And I'm not sure. I just know that I was taught to respect people, protect your fammy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that part.
And be that buffer in between a threat, against the family or against myself. I think that, your dad would do that, and then you emulate what your dad would do as you grow older.
It's the number one role model for any young man. Is the father in their house.
Absolutely. And I think young men or boys need that relationship with their dad.
Yeah.
I think it should be a close one, especially growing up.
Yeah.
Then also to have those be taught those values.
Yes.
Where doing the right thing sometimes isn't the easy thing.
Or the popular thing.
Or the popular thing, exactly.
Were you coddled and babied as a little boy?
Well, I think my mom liked to kind of spoil me a little bit, but my dad not so much. And there was times my mom would tune me up too. So, I remember just a quick story. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and my dad had planted some brand new sapling trees in the yard, and I was with my cousin, and we were angels then, trust me. But I grabbed an axe and I cut these things down the day after. And boy, did I mean...
Yeah. You remember that?
Oh, I remember that for sure.
No one sat you down and said...
I didn't get a timeout. No.
Oh, they didn't put you in timeout and say, now let's talk about choices. Do you believe that was a good choice to cut Daddy's trees down? That probably didn't happen.
I think my rear end reminded me over and over and over for a while that was not a...
Exactly. And of course, I grew up, believe it or not, in a generation ahead of you. And I had 2 older brothers, so I had a very loving, wonderful, strong, masculine father, and then 2 older brothers. And between what I learned from my dad and the beatings, if people saw the beatings I got from my brothers, oh my gosh, you would think that's just awful. I had great brothers. They were awesome. But boy, when I needed my butt kicked, I got it. Until one day when I cracked one of them across the nose with a baseball bat. And then I think they thought, that little dude's nuts. We need to back off him a little bit. He's crazy. He'll pick up a baseball bat. But I remember in 7th or 9th grade basketball, my brothers were both very good basketball players. We all 3 were. And I was in practice, and I came down on my ankle, and I actually dislocated it. A lot of people get ankle turns and sprains. It actually went way out of joint. It stayed there for a second, and then it went right back. So that's a dislocation, and it immediately puffed up to probably 4 size. It was what you call a severe ankle injury. I've been much better off breaking it. And and so the coach comes over, they carry me over to the bench, and man, did this thing hurt. And he's, oh, Brucey, he says, that's not good. And my brothers came over and grabbed me by the collar and said, Mom and Dad can't afford to fix your ankle. And I had so much respect for my parents, working class. Mom was in the home raising kids, And
money's tight.
Blue collar. Oh, yeah. We grew up east side of Flint, blue collar. I never told them. And so I came home. I can't put pressure on it. My mom freaks out. What happened? I told her blisters, and she wanted to look at it. Mom, it's fine, blisters. And I could, that ankle bothers me to this day. And you were talking about 1973 when that happened. But the toughness that instilled in us.
Sure.
And there was such a thing back then as man up. And I find myself right now, I have a grandson. Oh my gosh, this little guy is just, I just can't believe him. He's 2, going almost 3. And there are going to be people out in the audience who think I'm just awful over what I'm going to say right now. But when he doesn't have something to cry about, I look at him and I said, stop crying, boys don't cry. All the psychologists and the sociologists, and everyone's going to hate me for that one, but I'll stand by that any day of the week, how important it is to build toughness in young men, and how important it is to have masculine standards. And listen, I've cried before, but I've cried as a grown man, but by golly, it takes a lot to get me there. And 99% of the pain or difficulties or challenges that I've had, I'm nowhere near. Sure, I could have cried and looked for some sympathy, and someone would have coddled me and hugged me and sent me to a counselor. But I stiffened up, I manned up, and I worked my way through it. That's part of being a man, I think.
It is. It's working through your your downturns, right?
It is.
Or, you know, it's learning to cope with that stuff and not shying away so much is it is just putting your head down and going through those setbacks so you come out the other side a bigger, stronger.
That's it, because someday people or society are going to depend on you. And I truly believe, you know, men in this society need to be depended upon. And so if teaching him at 2 that boys don't cry, you know, I'm sure there are people in the audience who are cringing right now. That's okay. He's my grandson. He's not yours. And that's okay. But, you know, you had a term the other day. We kind of talked about this a little bit because you listened to a particular podcast. And we need to teach men to be what? Remember the term you had?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say it.
Right, and again, you don't want people to take this the wrong way because it's not at all about.
You're going to explain it.
Well, I will do my best.
Yeah.
So there's, I guess I follow a guy a little bit. His name's Jordan Peterson, and he's a psychologist.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor. Yep. Very sharp guy, and some people don't like his messaging either, but he does talk a lot about like toxic masculinity and kind of the direction that society has kind of gone, and kind of blaming some men for the masculinity that they have, or people, you know, trying to instill masculinity into their kids and so on and so forth. But you know, he says that men should be, or we should teach our boys, or men should be monsters.
Explain that, Brian.
And basically what he's saying is we want to teach our men and boys to, when the time comes for the right reason, to stop at nothing to stop the threat, and to have that type of thinking or the ability to do that. So it's a controlled thing.
Yes.
So it's not just, you're not just a monster out there looking to be violent and all that sort of thing, but to really be that sheepdog.
You're the sheepdog. I was just going to say it. You are keeping the wolves. You are capable, if the time comes, of keeping the wolves away from the sheep.
Absolutely. And you know, he's got a number of different things that he, you know, I would say quotes that he has out there that are pretty interesting when you think about them. One of those that he does say is non-psychotic males who are fairly aggressive keep the psychotics under control.
Wow. Non-psychotic males who are aggressive keep the psychotics away from the sheep. Boy, that's powerful.
They keep them under control. So, I mean, it kind of goes along those lines.
It does.
Right? We're protectors, and we need to be strong.
Yes.
And if there's an incident, we should go 110%, no matter what, to stop the threat or protect the family and so on and so forth, and not be ashamed to be that way.
I'll tell a quick story, Brian. When I was dating my wife. Now, anyone who's seen my wife, have you ever seen my wife? Have you met her? I don't know if you have.
I'm not
She's
sure.
absolutely gorgeous.
I may have met her before.
She's really now a lot of husbands will say, "Oh, my wife's the most beautiful woman in the world." Maybe she is to you, but according maybe to beauty standards, not. My wife is very stunning, her beauty, and although that was a neat thing as a young guy, it was a handful out in public. We're at a wedding, a buddy's wedding, and there's this drunk that's following her around, and I'm trying to be nice and kind and not be that guy at the wedding, and then he comes up finally, and I said, "Listen, enough's enough, okay? Leave her alone. She doesn't, want the attention. Leave her alone." I don't know if I pulled my hand off her shoulder, but anyhow, and I said, then maybe that's when he put his hand on his shoulder. I said, "Listen, if you don't touch my wife again all night." And he looks me in the eye, and he takes his finger and he touches her shoulder, and then I did what you don't want friends to do at a wedding and knocked them out.
Yeah.
I'm not bragging about that, but I've had that ability to do that, and I should have that ability to do it. Now, was that the right time to do it? Maybe not. I was young, but I've told people before. I spent a career in law enforcement, and including 7 years on a drug team. And I've talked to people. I said, I'm kind, I'm sensitive, I'm understanding, I'm patient, and at the same time, I'm capable of unimaginable violence. And I think people see one side of you most of the time, and they have no idea that in some of us, there's a violence that's all wrapped up, tightly bound. Can come out in a split second, and it would be unimaginable for people to. There's no way that guy could have imparted that kind of violence to protect someone.
And I think that goes right along with what Jordan Peterson was saying: is men should be monsters, if you will. But again, it's very controlled and
yes.
But compassionate
was perfect.
And emotional compassion, all that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But God forbid if the time comes, you have to be that monster.
Yeah, you do. And the other thing we see so much right now is and I'm not blaming teachers at all, but we want to control, we want to treat little boys the same way we treat all kids. And little boys are just different, and they're wired different. They need to experience different things. And we need to give opportunities for those boys to go out, break things, to go out and cut their dad's saplings, because not only is it fun to do, but then there's a valuable lesson that follows.
Oh, there's a lesson there.
And we need to have, so many boys now are identified and diagnosed with ADD and some of these other things. We need to let them go out, burn up tons of energy and calories, and stumble into bed at night. They're so tired out doing boy things.
Let them mess up their bed so they can make it, right?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
You learn as you do. It's through experiences and you learn choices.
Yeah.
And consequences of choices and then being, responsible and held accountable for them.
Yep.
It's part of life. It's part of growing up.
Yep.
Developing that thick skin.
In my law enforcement career, there were always those cops that you were around who you knew. I consider what I know about you, you'd be one of those guys that if the doo-doo hits the fan here, I want to be around him. This is the guy I know I can depend on. And there were cops I worked with, and some of them I thought, no, this isn't the officer I want to be around, or some of them I'm not sure, but some of them I knew that if things get bad, and we served on our team while I was there, we served over 300 search warrants. The majority of them were dynamic entries, and things can go bad in a split second. And I knew the people on that team. I knew who the monster was in there, and the monster was trained and all wrapped up and paying attention, and they can come out in a split second.
Right.
That's part of manhood as far as I'm concerned.
It's a protective. And I think it's vital.
Yep.
And, I think with today's society, I think men need to know it's not just okay to be a man. It's a necessity.
It is. That's a good point, Brian.
It just is.
It's not a choice. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Bob, I see you squirming. Do we need to pay some bills?
Well, we do. And you also need to say it's WBZX Big Rapids. That's a federal requirement.
Should you say that, or should I say that?
You can say it. I just said it. You can say it.
It's WBZX Big Rapids.
And you did it correctly.
I did it well. Yeah. Excellent. Do you want to take your
we'll take that break and listen to all of our sponsors coming up right here on Curries Corner with Bruce Borkavich, right here on B1039.
Devereaux Sawmill is turning Michigan's finest timber into the world's finest lumber. If you have a wooded lot, they buy several species of trees: hard maple, soft maple, red oak, white oak, cherry, and walnut. They pay top dollar prices, and they do an excellent job harvesting your woodlot. Devereaux will pay you even before they cut the timber. Just to be clear, they're not a tree service, but they do cut woodlots. And they cut your woodlot so it can once again be cut in 8 to 10 years. Call 231-250-4431. Specializing in selective harvesting. Devereaux Sawmill.
Dale I've known for many, many years, and I tell you what, when somebody needs some help, he's there. Just like your typical Mecosta County resident, Dale Whaley is a good American. So if you're ever looking for a drywaller for free estimate, call Dale. I'm telling you, you're going to be happy with his work. I have recommended Dale to a lot of people, and you know what the greatest compliment I've ever gotten is thanks for sending Dale. He did a great job for me. Guy's just fantastic. Just not only is a drywaller with DW2 drywalling, but it's just a great person. It doesn't hurt to have him come into Curry's either. There's just so many good things about Dale. He's just a great American, and give him a call, DW2 Drywall at 231-679-0475. That's right, 231-679-0475. Dale Whaley is DW2 Drywall. Greatest guy on drywalling and
Paris Auto Sales is looking to buy your current car. Are you tired of trying to sell it yourself? Marketplace no-shows, scams, trades you don't want? Stop in. Paris Auto will give you a quote. You like it, leave with a check. It's that simple. If you see something you like and want to trade or just sell, it's that easy. Paris Auto Sales, your used car center of Big Rapids.
I'm Seth Wenger from Wenger Insurance. For more than 100 years, we've been providing professional service and competitive insurance to West Michigan. Come visit us on Perry Street in Big Rapids or give us a call at 796-0778. We're here for you now, and we'll be here when you need us most. 796-0778.
When the time comes to say goodbye, you need a funeral home that understands your family's needs. The Monk Janowitz Funeral Home in Big Rapids and the Janowitz Family Funeral Home in Remus have been a trusted part of this community for generations. They do take care of every family like their own, and they hear it time and time again.
My name is Christina Beers. I would say there's lots of funeral homes in the area, but there's only a small few that can do it with class and with quality and with that personal touch and care. And I would put Janowitz Family Funeral Home at the very top of that list.
Let them help guide you through a challenging time with care, respect, and compassion. The Monk Janowitz Funeral Home in Big Rapids and the Janowitz Family Funeral Home in Remus. Local, professional, and here for you when it matters most. The Janowitz Family Funeral Home, now also serving Lakeview and Edmore.
Where do you go for Michigan's #1 concealed pistol license course? The same place thousands of Michigan residents have over the past 15 years, the Barrington Firearms Training Center. The BFTC conducts state-certified CPL courses right here locally inside the Barrington Conservation Club at 3444 18 Mile Road in Barrington. For just $99, all you need to bring us is your Michigan ID to these all-inclusive one-day CPL courses, which include the use of firearms, ammo, eye and ear protection, coffee and donuts in the morning, and lunch at noon. That's right, just $99 gets you everything needed to take the police department instructed course that includes the training necessary to safely load, unload, handle, and store your firearm. Students will also be trained on when it is legal to defend themselves with a firearm under Michigan's Stand Your Ground law and Castle Doctrine. Call 231-250-7257 or go online at michigancpltraining.com to register for one of their upcoming $99 all-inclusive CPL courses. Get armed, get trained at the Barrington Firearms Training Center.
Hey, I want to tell you something. Their sandwiches are incredible. But get the cheeseburger with caramelized onions. You won't ask where the beef is.
My name is Drew, and I'm 6 years old. And Sue Bean is my Giga.
Giga has worked with all kinds of people, helping them find the home of their dreams.
Giga is also my grandmother. She loves working with adults who are serious about finding a piece of property that suits their needs.
Giga drives us everywhere. She's pretty sweet, but the best path she drives is getting you to the closing table.
Sue Bean, Big Rapids Realty, 231-580-9546.
That's 231-580-9546. Or email her at sbean@bigrapidsrealty.com.
All right. Well, we had just as spirited a conversation off the air as we do on the air.
We always do. And, Bob, I got to tell you, you and I, maybe, as far as political affiliation may be different, but you're always so reasonable to talk to, and you use your brain, and you don't, there are no personal attacks. We talk about ideas. And I just know
you as a guy who give me the shirt off your back.
I really certainly would. That, and I value your opinion. Yeah. And because you use your brain, you think, and it isn't personal. It's just like, here's my thought.
Right.
So I appreciate that. Brian, we're going to...
Yeah, reintroduce him
we've got Mr. Bryan Marek here. Brian,
there you go.
The one thing that I forgot to mention, Brian, you can do this quickly, and then we'll go on to. You have a son who ain't a bad hockey player.
No.
I watched him at Ferris, and I was a little sad when he left early, but we understand why. Just in a nutshell, tell us what he's doing.
Right now, he's playing in the American Hockey League. He's an affiliate with the Minnesota Wild, which is an NHL team. Just had a little bit of a setback three weeks ago with a broken hand. So we were kind of hoping that he would get
surgery.
He had some screws put in, but he's already cleared to play.
Wow!
But it's so late in the season for them now. We were hoping that he would be called up some, and I think that was kind of on the radar.
Yeah.
But since that injury sent him back, I think he might have to wait a year or so. But he's another one that came out of Big Rapids. That's definitely better than I was for sure. So I gotta give him the credit too. And
he's a good kid too. He's a very good human being.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, he's an excellent young man.
And he's not afraid to do the business out there either. So he likes to. Yeah, he drops the gloves.
Polite,
he does.
He's mannerly, but I think there's probably a monster in there.
There's a bit.
Yeah.
So
good
you
job.
can look him up on YouTube. He's got a few fisticuffs out there to show that. Does a good job.
I want to transition quickly. We've got everyone's attention, and I probably stirred some anger. So let's stir that pot further. There's some gun control, some gun laws being proposed in Lansing. And I can put them into 4 categories. We'll start with a ban on ghost guns. And just so people know, a ghost gun, they're kind of a computer laser printed guns where you have the plan and you have the materials and it makes certain parts.
Yeah, you download the plan.
And then you print them or you build them, then you put the parts together. What's the big deal about ghost guns? They don't have serial numbers.
Right.
And so we need to talk about the motivation of this law because as a career hunter, an avid gun owner, 16-year state police firearm instructor, I'm pretty well versed with gun ownership and gun laws and gun use. I don't know of any cases where someone committed a murder or a mass murder and it was facilitated by a gun that didn't have a serial number. Let me explain that. We come up with these restrictions that the intention is we can create another law and it's a 2-year felony, a 4-year felony, or a 5 or a 10-year felony, and that is going to curb gun law or gun violence. Now, there's a very sound theory in the criminal justice world. It's called the rational choice theory. And the rational choice theory says that people choose deviant behavior because the perceived benefits of the behavior outweigh the perceived consequences of the behavior.
Sure.
So, I'm a crazy guy. I'm Bruce the crazy guy. I'm going to go do some mass shooting. So I build a ghost gun. So I've broken a law because you can't have, and it's a minor felony. I can't have a gun without a serial number, and I go into a mall and I shoot 30 people with it. Well, the threat of committing a capital crime that either puts me in prison forever or in some dates puts me in the electric chair, that didn't deter me.
Right.
I still perceived the benefits of the behavior outweighed the benefit of the consequence. Can you help me understand, Brian, how making another gun law that is going to be a misdemeanor or one of the lower felonies is going to deter crime? Because I might be missing something.
Well, I don't think it will. I mean, there's plenty of regulations and laws out there, and I think there's so many that people are unclear on the current laws we have out there already.
There are
some have it right on the money and some just don't and think they do or whatever it is and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the way that I look at it is if you're wanting to create evil and be violence and whatever, you're going to do it regardless of the choice of the consequences,
right.
And oftentimes the weapon used. So I don't think they care less one way or the other. It's if they're going to go do something like that, they're not looking at a serial number or whatever, because most of the time they turn it on themselves anyway.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter if it's got a serial number there or not.
The greatest mass murder in American history on American soil was Tim McVeigh in Oklahoma City, and he built a bomb. I'm not going to tell people details of how he did it, but in the back of a rental truck.
Right.
And so another one of the proposals is to outlaw bump stocks. Now, bump stocks are, I'm not real familiar with them, but it's a part of a stock where you actually bump the gun and it makes it fire faster.
Well, the recoil of the gun, it's like the stock itself.
Automatic.
Right, exactly. Right. The stock itself is a little loose on the gun, if you will. This is a kind of a way to look at it.
Yes.
And when you pull the trigger, the recoil of the round going off
causes you to pull the trigger again.
It slides in that stock just a little bit, and there's a little barrier that's kind of next to the trigger, and it just the movement of the recoil slides your finger or the stock slides, and it just keeps hitting the trigger kind of as it's recoiling, if you will.
Yeah. So someone could articulate that banning these would create less of them out there, and I can see their point there. Sure. All of this is balanced with this little thing we call the Second Amendment.
Right.
And I don't think it was an accident that our founding fathers put it so high up on the list. First Amendment, is our free speech, freedom of religion. But, there's a concept, a constitutional concept. Thomas Jefferson was quoted as saying it, and as I research, I'm not sure he was the originator of it. It might have been this guy named Monticello, but it doesn't matter, because the concept is that when a government fears its people, you call that liberty. When the people fear their government, you call that tyranny.
Right.
So we balance this, and Bob, you and I had a thoughtful conversation. Yes, we have a Second Amendment, and in the Second Amendment, it does guarantee us the right, to be armed. However, I think even most Second Amendment advocates and gun owners would say, okay, so let's say that you got a guy who's a psychotic murderer, and he serves his prison term of 30 years and he gets out. Should he be able to have a gun? And I think most reasonable people on both sides of the aisle will say, no. So we have had to have some court decision and some evolution to put reasonable restrictions, even though they weren't in the Second Amendment. So will outlawing bump stocks change anything? I don't know. Another one. Go ahead.
I don't think they will, or would. I don't think they get used.
Right.
For one,
they're a fun thing on the range, is what most people do with them.
Yeah, and they're very inconsistent.
They're inconsistent.
They're super inconsistent.
It makes the gun much harder to be accurate.
For sure. And half the time they don't fire.
Yes.
You might watch a video on YouTube or wherever your platform is of guys doing this or whatever, but like you're watching the best case scenario all the time. You're not watching the retakes where it's fires 3 times or 2 times or hangs up or what. They're very, very inconsistent.
Yeah. Another one, and this is interesting. It would change the legal age to purchase a long arm from 18 to 21. Okay, so we already have these. We have almost an epidemic of young people in this country. They're crazy, and they get a gun and they go do these mass shootings. It's true. If those young people have the motivation to do that, would the fact that they can't go buy a gun stop them? Or, as in many cases, do they steal one? Do they take one of their parents, grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, whatever? And that's what we find happen. Because, again, they're making the choice to commit the most serious crime there is known to man, and that's homicide. That's a illegal taking the life of another. So if that doesn't deter what they're doing to getting a gun illegally at 18 deter them, and I haven't seen evidence to convince me.
It's the tool.
It is.
If they don't have the tool, like we see people drive into cars into crowds now.
Exactly.
Right, and they'll wipe out 20 people.
Cars, yeah.
Right. So I mean,
here's another problem I have, and I have so much respect for our military. So you can go into the military at 17, serve your country, get out a couple of years later, maybe be in combat and risk your life. Every one of those soldiers writes that blank check, right? Every one of them writes the check and gives it to Uncle Sam and says, up to and including my life if necessary. So now they get out and they're 19, 20 years old and they can't go buy a gun.
Or a beer.
Or a beer.
Right.
How about that one? So that doesn't set well with me. I don't know how you look at that.
I may look at things a little bit different. I agree 100%.
Okay.
I agree 100% with the military and all that. These guys are trained and all that. They've had a lot of experience with firearms and exactly. Discipline. However, I will say, and I'm going to go back to society a little bit. I think that years past, an 18-year-old had a much higher mentality and maturity than today too. Plus, they don't have the influence of the cell phone or the idiot box, right? So there's a lot of influence there. I think that we're trying to take less responsibility onto the kids now as we did before. So I think on a mature level, so I just don't know. So I mean, that's just an observation maybe I've kind of seen maybe. I don't know for sure. Again, it's just an opinion. However, these young adults going into the military, like you say, they're signing this blank check.
Yeah.
For one, my hat's off to every single one of those. I mean, that's a huge step, in a bit of sacrifice for sure, a lot of sacrifice for the country and freedoms that we do enjoy. That being said, they've also been put into a very strict setting where they have to grow up. They're held accountable. They are, they're not hard or they're not easy on these individuals, these kids, and they're learning right off the bat. So
maybe
unlike
we need to build in an exemption to this law in Michigan that if we decide to go forward with 18-year-olds can't purchase a gun unless you have been dishonorably discharged from the military. And that would be the exemption to that.
And I'm not saying also that we should
I get it.
have this 21 age whatever. I'm just putting that out there, trying to look at it from a different angle.
Yep. No, I get it. Those are great points.
That was just something that I was thinking of. I don't know if it's
the
right
other
or wrong.
thing they're looking at. By the way, before we're looking at that, you know what I'm looking at? You're listening to B1039. And the other thing they're looking at is a 3-day waiting period, so that once you go in and get your paperwork done, you can't have that gun for 3 days. I haven't seen evidence that that's going to make a big difference or a substantial difference. I don't know. I think if that's the case, there's so many other ways to get a gun if someone's super motivated to do something. But
they're using fireworks now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's against the tool.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I don't think that's going to deter anything. However, if it takes 3 days to vet somebody,
well, I don't think that's not the case.
But I don't think that's the case at all. And I was just throwing that out there.
In case someone just says, today I'm going to go buy a gun so I can shoot my wife. And so they go in, and now that gives you 3 days to calm down and realize what a wonderful person she is.
Yeah.
And that was sarcasm. We're getting close to wrapping up, but the other thing, a couple things I want to mention. Number one, just another little thing on data centers. As people know, Big Rapids Township is moving aggressively to deal with data centers and develop an ordinance. I can tell the listening audience, because some people have heard there's one coming into our township or the area. I have heard nothing. we're doing this prophylactically to have something in place so that if they do show up, we can deal with it. What the township has done is we've met, with the planning commission, the board, with the planning commission. We had a public hearing session where we got to hear from the public. We did pass an ordinance, a temporary resolution, or temporary ordinance, which places a 1-year moratorium with up to 2 6-month extensions if necessary. And we're doing that so that it gives us time to build this ordinance because it's a big job.
Sure.
At the board meeting tomorrow night, I have one more document asking for any other input from the board members before I've kind of mapped out what's in my mind that should go into this ordinance. We'll hear from the board tomorrow, and then I'll be moving aggressively. I'd like to have an ordinance done in 3 or 4 months. It's a big job, but I'd like to have an ordinance done in 3 or 4 months.
I think it's a good idea. It gives you more time. It gives the people more time to understand what's the benefits, what's the repercussions of this, what are some of the, it just gives more time to make an accurate decision.
And make not a hasty decision. Right. Our attorney, who does a great job for us, has said, we know what not to do in this community regarding Goshen. I'm not picking a Goshen scab at all, but we know that anything done in secrecy, anything done without communicating with the people and giving them a chance to listen and give their opinions is not a good tactic. It's not a good plan.
Right.
So one of the first things we did as a board when the board changed over is we passed a resolution that no board member in Big Rapids Charter Township can ever sign a non-disclosure agreement. And then, we're always looking for ways to communicate with our public. We did have that public hearing a week or two ago, and I think had about 40 people there, and really thoughtful conversation. There weren't people yelling at each other, pointing fingers. There were, the overwhelming response was, we're afraid of data centers. We're not real keen on them. Please take your time and build a good ordinance. There were a few people who pointed out the fact that if you like using Chat GPT and emails and all these other things, that's what's required for that technology. So what we heard from our public is be thorough, study, learn, and protect our community. That's what we heard.
And inform the people, right?
And inform the people.
And that's one thing that I'll say that I like about you a lot. I think you're doing a fantastic.
The only thing?
Well, that's one of the big things.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
With the role that you have at the township, being the supervisor, is you're focused on making sure the people aren't blindsided by anything.
Absolutely.
You have everything out in front. You're willing to listen to anybody.
Absolutely.
And we're not making decisions
in a
instantly, right?
No.
And in a vacuum, just like you're saying. So just letting the people know and keeping that out in front so everybody can kind of see, and there's no backdoor dealings or whatever it is, or no surprises, if you will. So I appreciate you for being that way. And
I've mentored a couple of police administrators, police chiefs, captains, and said, it's the same as the secret to being a good police chief. The secret to being a good police chief is this. First, love the community you serve. If you're a chief in a big city and you hate city rats and city dwellers and whatever it is that encompasses that particular area, geographic and the demographics, you're going to fail.
Right.
You're not. So you have to love the people you're serving. And number two, every day you have to work to build their trust. And I love this community. I love the people in the township. And I remember that every day the board has to build their trust. It can take you forever to get that trust, and it takes one little slip up to lose it.
Right.
So we do work hard to build trust. So, and with that, I have to get home. Do you know why, Bob?
Why?
I have an excavator on my property and a almost 3-year-old grandson. And can you imagine? I'm going to bundle him up, take him out in the Ranger, and let him watch the excavator dig. And
that's every kid's dream.
Isn't that going to be something? Yeah.
Now,
So,
if you gave him a chance to play with it, that would.
yes. Well, I don't know. I think the guy who owns Excavator's smart enough to not let me be on it. But maybe he'll let my son.
You know what I see? I see on YouTube. I see these videos of these 10-year-old kids that are operating farm equipment, these big combines and things.
Just like
good for them.
Farm kids, those kids get on tractors and stuff. They learn how to do it safe and responsibly, and
his kid, he pulls them. Okay, and he answers his father. It's great to watch that.
But Bryan, really appreciate having you here and finding out a little bit more about you. Bob, I always appreciate you and our conversation.
I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah. So maybe someday, if I didn't make too many people mad, Jen and Dom will say, okay,
I think the door is always open to you. You know that. I don't even have to say.
All right. Thank you.
All right. It's Curry's Corner on B1039. Wow. 9:33. Now, this is a new record, folks. So when you hear music coming up, maybe Pat will call in and talk about fill in the rest of the time. B1039.
Paris Auto Sales is looking to buy your current car. Are you tired of trying to sell it yourself? Marketplace no-shows, scams, trades you don't want? Stop in. Paris Auto will give you a quote. You like it, leave with a check. It's that simple. If you see something you like and want to trade or just sell, it's that easy. Paris Auto Sales, your used car center of Big Rapids.